I'm Bo Johnson. There's an American who is not celebrating Thanksgiving today. His name is Joseph Andrew Stack. He was not a man that most Americans knew. He wasn't famous. He wasn't political. He wasn't part of any movement. He was an engineer, a guitarist, a father, a man trying to make a living in a system that never once met him halfway. On February 18, 2010, Stack made a choice that was horrific and indefensible. He set fire to his home, boarded a small Piper Dakota aircraft, and deliberately crashed it into the Echelon building in Austin, Texas, a building that housed IRS employees. He killed an innocent man, Vernon Hunter, a father of 6, and he injured 13 others. Stack alone bears responsibility for that violence. No frustration, no grievance, no injustice can justify it. But his story forces us to confront something deeper, something uncomfortable, something this country has ignored for far too long. The climate at the time led Stack to believe that he had no lawful path left. And in fact, in truth, he was right. The despair had consumed Stack, and it didn't come from madness. It came from years of encountering a system that does not answer, does not explain, and does not correct itself, even when it is clearly wrong. Stack spent decades dealing with the IRS over various issues tied to self-employment, for example, retirement contribution rules, and inconsistent guidance that shifted depending upon the IRS employee he happened to reach. And every attempt to resolve the issue brought him deeper into a maze where no exit was available. Letters that contradicted each other, phone calls that led nowhere, appeals that were never acknowledged, notices demanding money without no opportunity for face-to-face resolution, no human voice willing to claim responsibility. This was not an isolated experience. This was the IRS's national pattern, a pattern that Congress itself documented. In 1997 and 98, the Senate Finance Committee held hearings. Americans testified under oath about the IRS behavior that shocked the nation. Unanswered correspondence, seizures made before liability was verified, penalties added without explanation, return requests ignored for years, appeals lost inside the vast bureaucracy, agents who refused to identify themselves, taxpayers treated as guilty until proven innocent. The problem was so severe that Congress passed the IRS Restructuring and Reform Act of 1998. They had hoped to stop these abuses. But culture doesn't change because a law is passed. Culture changes only when accountability is enforced, and the accountability never came. Even the National Taxpayer Advocate, the watchdog inside the IRS, continued to publish reports describing the IRS as, quote, indifferent to the suffering it imposes, end quote, and, quote, unresponsive to taxpayers seeking even basic clarity, end quote. This is the world that Joseph Stack lived in, not a world with lawful remedy, a world of administrative silence. Imagine spending years writing letters that are never answered. Imagine calling an agency whose own helplines tell you they cannot give advice that will protect you. Imagine receiving notices that conflict with each other and discovering that even IRS employees cannot tell you which one is binding. Imagine appealing a decision and learning that the office handling your appeal does not answer the phone. This does not excuse Stack's actions, but it explains the climate of despair that thousands of Americans quietly understand. Because when a government agency becomes unreachable, unresponsive, and unreviewable, it stops functioning as a representative institution and starts functioning as an apparatus of presumption. Stack believed he had no lawful remedy, and for many Americans, that belief feels real, not because they want to be rebels, but because they cannot find a clear, lawful path forward. That is an abject failure of government, That is an abject failure of accountability. But the solution is not rebellion. The solution is not despair. The solution is restoring lawful communication between the governed and the government, something the IRS has failed to provide and continues to fail. This is where the statement of understanding becomes essential. A statement of understanding is not resistance. It is not defiance. It is not antagonism. It is the lawful restoration of clarity, consent, record, standing, and jurisdiction. It is the people speaking on the record so that silence cannot be twisted into agreement and presumption cannot be mistaken for proof. Joseph Stack believed the system left him no voice. But we are not without a voice. We are not without a path. We are not without lawful remedy. And we are not without each other. The tragedy of Joseph Stack teaches us one thing above all. When government refuses to listen, the people lose hope. When government refuses to explain, the people lose trust. And when government refuses to correct itself, the people lose faith. We can correct that, not through fury, but through knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and ultimately, truth. When the people speak lawfully, government must answer lawfully. This is how despair is replaced with clarity. This is how fear is replaced with understanding. This is how presumption is replaced with proof. This is how a republic is restored peacefully, deliberately, powerfully. Let us ensure that no one ever feels cornered again. Let us speak. Let us stand. Let us restore lawful government. And as always, especially on this Thanksgiving Day, may truth reign supreme.